So we have everyone here for today's panel discussion. We may have more people join during the chat, but for now, we'll go ahead and get things started. So let's first start out with everyone introducing themselves, their name, what film they're representing, and what they did in the film. So I will start with Chris, and we'll go down the line.
My name is Chris Notarilli. I am the writer and director of Typhoid Mary and Domino. We're doing both of those, right?
Yep.
And I am the head of Blinky Productions. I'm a filmmaker, and I've been in the business for about 16 years now.
Nice.
And I'll hop on after that because I'm also affiliated with Chris and Blinky Productions. I am producer and starring in Typhoid Mary and Domino.
Nice.
My name is Rob Ailing. I'm the writer and director of Living in Crime Alley, a Batman fan film, and I'm from the UK, which is why it's so pitch black here. So I do apologise for that. Well, why am I apologising? It's
You should be sorry for the night.
Yes.
How dare you?
I love how both Rob and Chris have this is a topic about fan films, and their rooms basically, show, hey, I'm a fan.
I mean,
we're fans of.
You can't really see it, but I got two Typhoid Mary.
Yeah, show the Mary one.
Oh, this is. Oi.
The Virgin Typhoid Mary.
The Virgin Typhoid Mary, Our Lady, patron saint of insanity. And then this one, you can't really see it very well, but it's a commissioned work that I commissioned, and the artist used my cosplay, my Typhoid Mary cosplay, as the inspiration for Typhoid Mary in the painting.
Nice.
All right, so let's get started. So obviously we're talking about fan films today. So from the get-go, let's talk about when you're doing a fan film, deciding properties. So the first question is, as directors and as writers and stuff, there's a bunch of media out there. There are comics, there's video games, there's everything. So as a filmmaker, what kind of things are you looking for when you're deciding to adapt properties?
It's funny you mentioned that because I actually, every now and then I get bored and I put on my Facebook, hey guys, what fan film should I make next? And I have like a list of criteria, things that I don't want. I don't do verse movies anymore. Like people are like, oh, do Freddy versus Jason. I'm like, I did that already. I don't want to do that again. So no verse films, nothing I've already done, nothing too expensive that I can't afford unless you plan on, footing the bill. Nothing stupid and nothing so obscure that it doesn't have a modern fan base. Like I don't want someone saying, hey, do Spy Smasher. I'm like, look, I like my Spy Smasher just as much as any old radio fan, but that does not have a modern audience, and I'm trying to get views. And most fan films are used as like business cards where, yeah, you love the character, but at the same time, you want people to come and see it and then get hooked on your stuff and go see all your other stuff. So you can't do anything so obscure that, people are like, what is this? I've never heard of it. Like Gen Z has to be aware of it.
Gotcha. What about you, Rob?
I suppose, my take on it was kind of completely different in that it was, the fan film kind of side of things kind of came second. Like for me, it was, Living in Crime Alley was essentially almost a confession of my frustration with life in general, like being financially poor and living in one of the worst circumstances at the time. And I just used it and turned it into a screenplay. And then while I was writing, I just realized, as you can see, my room is filled with Batman stuff. I just looked around and went, I wonder what would happen if you brought Batman into this world, into this perspective of things, the rich versus the poor kind of thing. And, how would you deal with that? And that's kind of how it naturally grew. So, the fan film side of things kind of just came quite naturally, almost like a natural mistake, really. I wasn't thinking, I'm going to go out and make a fan film. It was more, I want to tell this story. And then all of a sudden I kind of realized actually it'd be a very unique take on a Batman story. So, yeah.
Nice. So let's talk about a little bit of that, of how, like, again, you were taking a story and then deciding to include Batman on it. So when you guys are doing these fan films and stuff, there's a certain like how Chris was saying, how he does a poll at times with properties, there's a certain liberty, there's a certain expectations when you do it. So when you go say, I'm making a fan film that's in the Batman universe, or you're saying I am doing something with Domino and Typhoid Mary, there are going to be fans of that who are going to watch it, and they're going to have certain expectations of that. So for both for you as filmmakers making your films, how did you play with, making sure that the fans are satisfied, but also making sure that you're telling the story that you want to tell as a filmmaker?
I usually look at where Hollywood came up short and the fan reaction to it. So, for example, we're talking about, Domino and Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary's had 2 incarnations in live action, and Domino has had 1. And the fans haven't been pleased with either. The very first was Typhoid Mary, featured in the Elektra movie, where she was just basically a nameless bad guy. Didn't even look like the character. The actress would have been fantastic had they actually attempted to give her, a costume or the makeup or anything like that. But she just wasn't anything. She wasn't anything like her comic counterpart. Then the version in the Daredevil series. Nobody wants to see a proto version of a character. You can only let that go for your main character for maybe half a season, okay? No one wants to see, they'll eventually become the thing that we like. That's Anakin Skywalker and Pat Oswalt talking about, hey, do you like ice cream? Yeah, well, here's some sugar and some milk. Go make fucking ice cream with it. No, we want Darth Vader. We don't want to see, a child Anakin. And then with Domino, you had Zazie Beetz' incarnation, and her performance was fine. It's just they kind of dropped the ball in the visual, and, fans are like, hey, listen, we're not trying to be racist. It's just that she has a black patch around her eye, and her skin is Crayola white, not Caucasian, Crayola white. And I felt that, it wouldn't have been wrong if they had tried that on her. And seeing as how they didn't bother to do it, I said, you know what? I'm going to attempt to do that. But the thing is, I don't want to go 100% comic book where they're wearing unrealistic costumes. You have to find a happy medium where, like, for example, Batman used to have like turquoise blue and gray, and then they said, okay, we're going to put him in black, or we'll put him in navy blue. And that's where I kind of, live when it comes to creating realistic versions of comic book accurate costumes without having to say, oh, we're going to go black leather.
Yeah, piggybacking off of what Chris has said, I feel that any of the representations of Typhoid Mary in mainstream media haven't really worked out because they keep eliminating the comedic aspect to her character. And she's just this quirky, like, offshoot, kind of like Joker-esque, like, hilarious, like, comedic relief that's also a lethal assassin. But, they keep trying to, like, grunge up her character, and they keep trying to make it like dark and realistic. They keep trying to give it the Dark Knight treatment, which I feel doesn't work out because you don't get to see the full well-roundedness of her character. In my opinion, they should have introduced her in one of the Deadpool movies, and I think she still has a future if they go that route instead of trying to like slap her onto Iron Fist.
Well, the problem, they missed the mark with, I said Daredevil earlier, you're right, it was Iron Fist. They threw her in there when she does not belong whatsoever. She belongs in Daredevil's world because he's the one that created her, and I had already tackled that in a previous fan film 9 years ago, before I'd met Shannon, obviously.
Yeah, well, they were just trying to save Iron Fist, honestly.
Yeah, they were trying to save Iron Fist. And the problem is, instead of doing a freaking journey, because we already had the journey of, Danny becoming Iron Fist, I don't need to see the journey of the villain becoming the villain. The villain should have one episode where they are created, and then they are the villain. That way, the story can continue to move instead of drag ass with this whole, we're going to do an origin story for every fucking thing you like. See those chicken ribs? Yeah. We're going to do an origin story about the chicken.
Yeah, and Typhoid Mary honestly is like way too obscure to do an entire season-long origin story for her. People just don't know her well enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Typhoon Mary. For me, as a comic book fan, I knew about Typhoon Mary. I didn't know too much about it. So actually watching your guys' short with Typhoon Mary, because I knew about Domino, but knowing about her, that's another thing as a filmmaker. And I'll make sure to get Rob your comment too. How was it with it? Like, obviously, doing a character like Domino and Typhoon Mary that some people know about because we're seeing them, but people don't actually know. So as you guys as filmmakers, you're introducing possibly a new world. And actually, we can talk about this, like, there might be still some people that don't know who Batman is. How is that as a filmmaker? As a sense, too, is like, with your fans, you'll be introducing this character to some people and making sure that you want them to be a representation to the fans about this is actually how it should be. Not Iron Fist, this is how it should be.
I view that responsibility with a lot of severity and gravitas. I don't want to come in assuming everybody knows everything, even if I'm doing a character like Batman, which I've done. I've done Batman, I've done Superman, I've done the big names. But when I do the more obscure characters, I know for a fact 90% of the world doesn't know who the hell these people are. And I want to make sure that I give the definitive version of the character so that if you were asked, hey, who's Typhoid Mary? It's like, all I saw was that fan film, and then you explain it, and then you talk to a comic nerd. Yeah, that's it. That's pretty much the character in a nutshell.
See, I feel like, again, I feel like I'm going to repeat my answer and say I was cheating a lot of the time. No, but with Crime Alley, I guess because I assumed that a lot of the audience know the origin story of Batman because, he is so overly consumed even right now. We just saw another origin, of his parents dying again in Joker as well, last year. And then before that, it was 3 years ago after that. And then after that, it was, 8 years ago. So, by now, I think, he's been around for 80 years. I think people know how Bruce Wayne became Batman. So, taking that out of the equation was quite an easy thing. But with Living in Crime Alley, it's more a focus on the human condition of the Gothamite story. So I'm using Batman as almost like, in essence, he is very much the antagonist of the film rather than the protagonist. I mean, most of the time, he's seen as the protagonist, but a lot of people would say, well, actually, what he's doing is a bad thing for good, for good. So actually, he's still breaking the law. That's why that relationship with Gordon is so interesting anyway. But with the way that I use Batman in this film it's playing up to the thing that I think the movies have sometimes missed. It's not to say that they haven't done this, but is played on the fact that he is a mystery, that he is like a legend of some kind. He's not always, people don't always believe in what they hear about, in the newspapers or in the news or whatever. He's just this mythical celebrity where they shine a spotlight in the sky just to scare people, kind of thing. And in this one, it kind of plays with that expectation of, are we going to see him or not? And that's why we introduce him first and foremost through shadows, because he's a classic like silent movie Nosferatu type figure, and a mythical legend that you're not sure if he's really there or not. And I really wanted that to play into this film. By the way, guys, I saw your films and I really, really enjoyed them. So I just wanted to say
Thank
that
you.
before we moved on. So yeah,
I'm looking forward to checking yours out, actually, because I actually had done something similar to what you're describing. I had done a series called Perspectives, where we did movies told from the perspective of people that were saved by these characters. So we have a junkie who was scared straight by Batman. We have a trans woman who was going to commit suicide and was talked off a roof by Superman. You have a black boy in a hoodie who was saved by the Flash from being shot. And then you have a prostitute who was given self-respect by Wonder Woman. And it's the superheroes say all but one line, and they don't even say it themselves. The lines are dubbed over through narration by the victim saying it and everything. And you just kind of see how they view these characters. And the way we had done Batman was basically like he was a demon. Treated him like I gave him the horror movie treatment for my movie. We had a really cool Keaton costume. We never see his eyes; it's just black.
Yeah, we used the Keaton cowl for our film as well. And funny, you were talking about comic book accuratization on. Again, this is also to please the fans as well, but we use the same color scheme as the animated TV series, which is my personal favorite suit. And I remembered so we made the film last year and we were celebrating 80 years of the character, but it was also 30 years of the Burton 89 movie. So we thought we might as well, acknowledge because what I wanted to say as well was you're right about the whole, because I think it was you, Shannon, who said about the whole Dark Knight kind of, influence thing, like this gritty realism. I personally love it, but I also love flamboyancy, which is why when people, always say, oh, I hate the Joel Schumacher films and this, that, and the other. When you look at them, you go, you have to remember this is a guy who's dressed as a bat taking down people. There is going to be an air of flamboyancy. So
I think
the comics were corny as fuck. I mean, like, what are you going to do? And exactly. Look, I have no problem with either treatment. It's just deciding when it's more appropriate to use it.
Yeah,
exactly. I was going to say that flamboyancy only works in certain scenarios with certain characters. For example, like, it's easy to poke fun at a character like Superman because, he still wears his red underwear on the outside, and you can have people make fun of him on the offset. But when you're dealing with a character like Batman, for example, depending on the version that you're using, it's easier to get more serious. Flash is a more lighthearted character. It's very easy to have fun with a guy like that,
Yeah, true.
So that's speaking of that, let's talk about that. So obviously with all different, depending on what you're talking about, like talking about Batman, there's a billion different Batmans. Like you said, when you were deciding what suit to use, you use the Michael Keaton, but you could have used the Adam West one if you wanted to. You could have used the Ben Affleck. There are different versions. So with comics, with every type of media, but specifically comics in this conversation, when you guys are adapting comic books, like there's different looks for Domino, like you were saying. Like there's a consistent, but there's, every artist has done something different. And so when you guys are adapting fan films and stuff, and you're deciding on the character, what do you guys usually look for when you're trying to decide, like, okay, I want to do the Michael Keaton Batman, or I want to do the Adam West Batman, or I want to do the Ben Affleck Batman? For costume reasons and maybe characteristic reasons, what do you guys look for when you're deciding what rendition to use of a character?
That comes down to resources. For example, I've done Batman. I've had access to the Michael Keaton bat suit. So every time I've used Batman, that's the Batman I'm going to use because that's just the suit I have access to. So I tailor make the story to be a Burton-verse Batman. With Domino, I wanted to just go for the standard, like most definitive version of Domino. So for example, when you think of Domino, you usually imagine her in a black cat suit with, her white skin, the eye patch, and the hair is, like a nice short bob pixie cut. And then, she's got tactile armor on or weapons or whatever like that. And Typhoid Mary, I think the definitive version of Typhoid now is, the fishnets, the leather jacket, and then you can kind of sort of play around with whether she's going to be wearing a brassiere or she's going to, be topless underneath and have like, pasties on or something like that. Shannon, you could add to that.
Yeah, so I mean the costumes that you see in the fan films that we have in this festival are basically just came out of my cosplay closet. Like I go every year to Comic-Con as Typhoid Mary, so I just have this lying around. So like Chris was saying, yeah, we just decide characters based on resources, like who has the costume, because these costumes, like especially with cosplay and stuff, can get expensive, like in the hundreds of dollars to thousands of dollars. And for low budget indie fan films like us, where there's really no promise of us making any money off of this, because, of course that would violate copyright law, you really just have to go with what's there.
Yeah. What I like to do now is I like to pool my resources. So I hit up the Instagram and the Facebook, and I start messaging people saying, hey, does anybody have a suit I could borrow? And either they come with the suit and I use them, or they lend me the suit and I use that. And that's kind of the way I go about it. If I can't make it myself for cheap, I'm going to now just get resources from somebody else, because I don't want to go through all the effort of, buying a bat suit, making a bat suit and having it and something happening to it. It's just, it's not worth it.
Well, I mean, I completely agree with all of you. The whole resources thing is so important. In my case, it was hiring out 3 different teams to make a suit. I wanted to acknowledge the past, but also acknowledge practicality, because at the end of the day, Shannon, as you'll know, they have to be comfortable, they have to be maneuverable, you have to be able to perform in it. So, we spent months designing and, making sure that the suit itself was fitted to the actor and actually practical. In hindsight, maybe what I would have liked to have done was actually have the actor being able to turn his head rather than do the Keaton classic turn of the thing, which I don't mind. Don't get me wrong. I love it because it's a throwback. But
if you use the Keaton cowl, Rob, I got a cheat for you. I had an actor who had the Keaton cowl, and it was the standard one. Mm-hmm. Just force him really hard. He will get it at some point. And it'll only be like a 2-second shot, but you'll get it in there and it'll look really good.
Yeah. Well, funny
or
enough,
just shoot from the neck up and it looks like they're turning, but they're not.
Oh yeah, no, like it. At the end of the day, I do not regret the choice. I just think in hindsight, there's that whole thing of, it's easier to turn, and drive out the driveway easier. But, it worked remarkably. And there's a scene in the film where he throws a punch and it just looks absolutely, in person, it looks ridiculous because it looks like he's like literally throwing his entire body for one thing. And even I went, I don't know if this is going to work. And then I watched the playback because I don't watch the monitor. I watch like next to the camera because to me, it's like theater in, anyway. And I watched the playback afterwards. I went, actually, that looks fucking amazing. So, it's a difficult one. You want to please, ultimately, when it comes to costume stuff, I want to please the actor and make them feel comfortable first, because again, when you've got latex on your face like this stretching, it's very claustrophobic, and they're not going to be able to hear much as well. I doubt you probably had the same problems, Shannon, with your costume.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the main, the most recognizable costumes in Typhoid Mary is just like the cross leather, like nipples hanging out with the leather jacket. And of course you can always draw in a comic that it just does, no nip slips happen, like in the comic world it just stays in place, but
there's always a word bubble over something or a little
in the real world it doesn't. So with that, usually at Comic-Con when I'm dressed in that specific outfit, I have I made these Deadpool nipple pasties that I just put on. So if I have a nip slip, it's like Deadpool.
Right.
Just a throwback to like her fraught and hilarious relationship with Deadpool. But for the film specifically, we of course had to get like a leather looking bra, because even
our first one we did a sports bra for the first one, and then we did for X-Men, what did we do for that? Because you had a white like brassiere.
I had a white corset because we did a different costume in that one with her with the white corset and like the body like what is it, like fishnet suit?
Yeah.
Right.
And then the most recent one, because we wanted to really show off, we had the belly tattoo.
Yeah, the belly tattoo.
Yeah, because usually I would paint that on, and it would smear off, and finally I had some spare tattoo paper, and I'm like, yes, we have it. So like I try to get as many midsection shots as possible to be like, look, money well spent. Those pages are $10 a piece.
Yeah, right.
the costume ended up looking like this. So.
Oh wow, nice.
So, I love the costume look really, really great. All your costumes look great in all your films. Like it was very much like, this is authentic. These are people who know what they're doing. Talking about something, Shane, you mentioned briefly. So obviously we're talking about budgets and stuff. And you can only do so much because, you don't want to break the copyright thing. So as filmmakers, how was that tiptoeing that line of making sure, since you don't get a knock on the door and a cease and desist from big Warner Brothers or Marvel, how was that kind of navigating that line and making sure you don't, get them banging on the doors?
I have actually had Warner Brothers call me personally and let me know that they're watching me on 2 separate occasions. The first, I think, was back in 2006, and then like maybe 2008-ish. And I'm like, okay, you have a file on me? Yeah, we have a file on you. It was just from their legal department. And I'm like, all right. I go, and they go, we want to let you know, we're keeping an eye on you. We know that you're not selling these things, which is good. I'm like, okay. You're going to hire me? No, we're not going to do that. Well, then why are you calling me, man? Like, I'm doing this so you'll hire me. If you're not going to hire me, why are we talking right now?
And that's the thing. It's like whenever they do that, you're just kind of like, don't you know that this is basically free marketing for you?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Chris has, Blinky Productions has 80,000 plus followers on YouTube. Like, there's a base there. You don't want the fans like being reminded of these superheroes and being excited, like drumming up excited for the next.
Especially when you yourselves aren't putting out content, let alone quality content all the time.
Yep.
Nice burn.
Thank you.
I mean, I spoke to my solicitor very early on and just said, look, what is the worst thing they can do? And they said, well, nothing much, as long as you don't, if you charge them, then you're fucked, basically. Sorry, I don't know if I was allowed to swear, but yeah.
No, I've been cursing all the time.
Okay, sorry, I apologize then. But then, that was his words. But then he just said, just make sure you have on every single piece of document that you're not going to make any profit, just to make it extra clear. Make sure you have it on contracts, make sure you have it in, at the very start of the film, for example. And, and that for me was just, the A-OK for me. And I think, and you guys said it already, like, I think if you take away the fan film side of things out of the context and everything, but when you produce quality work and you produce really good storytelling or good stories and you're giving it back to the audience for free, that I think is a huge respect to the audience, I think. And, with things like Netflix and Amazon Prime now, being so dominated, here it's $7.99 a month for both those streaming services. And yet YouTube, they're now starting to do little charges stuff here and there for like, trial thing. I've not done it any of those things yet. But I think right now what most people want, especially in this situation right now, sadly, is they want good content and they want content for a relatively good price. And, if we're there to offer up great quality content for free, then why should they complain? And I reckon, as I said this earlier, I reckon what would be amazing if this is, I think Marvel could do this as well, but I reckon DC should do black label films. They're doing it right now with their comics. I reckon they should do that as well. Do Elseworld multiverse films. Why not? Joker.
The best thing that they can do is sanction fan films right now. Let us work on micro budgets, pennies on the dollar. We give them their content in exchange for a few shekels, and then we get the exposure, and then that's that. It's so easy to do if they just let go of the reins a tiny bit and stop having their heads up their asses.
Definitely, they did something like, again, DC has their streaming service, and Marvel could have their streaming service of like a whole little fan thing. I mean, like Disney did a whole film series on Disney Plus where they filmed, they went to high schools, and it's called Encore. They went to high schools and brought people back kind of like 15 years later and redid one of their performances. And so it's not out of the realm of them doing stuff more low quality for fan films and stuff. Because really, fan films is one of those genres that people don't really understand and appreciate just how much it is. Like, you guys are going out there doing all this money, doing all this stuff with low reward, because again, you can't get any money because then you get a knock on the door. So how is that, as filmmakers, kind of drive, especially for you, Chris and Shannon, who have like your own company that do it all the time? How, I guess, what kind of motivates you to keep going and keep getting these quality content out when you, in the back of your head, like, other than through fundraisers and stuff, you can't really get profit off this stuff?
Well, for me, it makes me a little hesitant, especially when I'm tackling specific subjects. Like when it comes to Marvel, I'm actually very hesitant. You know, I was more with Fox characters when I was doing X-Men and everything like that. Like I didn't put any of my X-Men short films on my YouTube channel because I had a huge problem with Fox back in 2013 regarding my Deadpool web series. They came after me and nearly destroyed my YouTube channel, and I was furious because I've been on YouTube since 2005, and I basically just backed off and I said, all right, I'm just gonna not do Marvel characters for a while. But then Disney bought Marvel, and I'm like, okay, well, let's just give it a shot. And I had done a Spider-Man fan film, and nothing has happened to it so far. And by the way, I will go on record, that bit about Fox, I called them. I said, why the hell did you freaking take down my Deadpool web series after and all my other Marvel fan films after your Marvel YouTube channel favorited some of my shorts? And I shit you not, they said, you made us look bad. And I said, then hire me. And they said, no. This is shit I got to deal with.
Well, I can tell you one thing that as a female actor, one thing that keeps me doing fan films is that the roles available for women who don't have a name and don't have that star power are pretty just abysmal. Like, I didn't want to keep playing vapid girlfriend or mom or random whatever female caregiver number 2 or something like that. I knew that my essence, my personality was way more than that. And with fan films, it just gives me the opportunity to play these characters that I love and admire, basically without having to just sit on my ass and dream about it all day.
Yeah.
Damn. So, I mean, similar situation. So I'm a big believer in representation. And more representation in film and cinema, generally speaking. And when Vincent, the lead in Living in Crime Alley, came to me and said, I saw your script online, I would love to read it, blah, blah, blah. Went through the casting process and everything. And at no point did I think to myself, oh, I'm hiring this guy because he's black, or, I'm hiring him because he's the role. He completely smashed the audition process, to the point where I was like, do you know what? I might as well just stop now. But I want to double check I want to give people a chance. But he once turned around to me because I said to him, the odd conversation you have. And I turned around to him and said, was it really because you love this, love the material, you love, Batman and, this, that, and the other? And he said, well, yeah, that is one thing. But actually, I don't get roles like this as a black actor. I found that so heartbreaking to hear that, because for someone so I'm half Indian myself, who has been pushed to one side because of that one thing as well. And then, back in the day when I used to act as well, I was always pushed to one side to be the Indian cab driver or the delivery guy or whatever, being those stereotypes and thing. So for him to turn around to me and say, this is a role in which Hollywood wouldn't even hire me to play that role, it's heartbreaking to hear that. So I think what we've kind of just dissected just now is actually the importance of fan films in that regard as well, as you said, because for women, for actresses, it's a chance to play something completely different entirely and actually be given the opportunities that they're not normally given. And it's the same for black and Asian minority actors as well.
It goes beyond that, actually. I had done an Unbreakable fan film, and I had this character in there, and it was just, a gay man, and he was hanging out with the main character of the movie who was being stalked by a bad guy, and then David Dunn would save her and everything like that. And he's talking about how, my job sucks. I have to go on a business trip, and I'm not going to be able to be with my husband or my kid. And the actor I had cast actually was gay, and he goes, I really want to thank you for the part. I go, why? And he said, because there's no roles where a gay man can be this kind of character without being a stereotypical, I'm gay. Because the actor himself, he's a very masculine kind of guy. And he's like, I never get to just be a normal guy who likes men. I always have to be a gay man who likes men, and he hates that. And I'm like, I'm very grateful I could give it to you. You're welcome, you know? And yeah, it's weird that there's so many stereotypes out there in Hollywood that don't get to be broken. So it's nice to be able to change that up and basically do whatever the hell you want and answer to no one.
I'll drink to that.
That's a good thing, because we talking about the comic book industry in general. In the movie sense, we've got Marvel and DC, and that's what fans have outcried about. You know, it's like it took so long for Marvel to finally do a woman leading role, and then, you know, everyone loved Wonder Woman, DC doing it, and DC's doing it. But again, we're not seeing, you know, there's certain characters, like finally we're getting a character like Miss Marvel, who is an Indian superhero. But again, we're not getting a movie of it. We are giving a TV show on Disney Plus, and we're seeing, and that's the good thing about fan films, is you guys can cover certain things that the you know, the big names won't do, because in their eyes they don't see it as quotation profitable. And for you guys, it doesn't even matter about profit. So you're like, hell yeah, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. The sky's the limit for you guys. As film,
we're doing it out of passion as opposed to doing it because we're trying to appeal to a demographic.
Yeah, and there's a lot more freedom whenever it comes to the content and the story. Of course, in the bigger budget, like mainstream big studio ones, there's a lot more freedom with like cool effects, cool fight scenes. But the fan films definitely are able to have more freedom to bring in elements that, you know, people want to see, as opposed to what will make the biggest buck.
Yep.
So speaking of that too, about, you know, low budget and stuff, how was it you guys filming, or how's it filming in general, with you are wanting to get these larger than life characters that can do so much, but obviously you don't have the big bucks, so you want to have the happy middle of, you want to satisfy the fans, but also at the same time doing what's practical for what you can actually do.
I will say that is a nightmare to do, and I've come to realize that in these particular situations, when you're doing a movie about Superman or you're doing a movie about Batman, I'm not going to get to do the big set piece. I'm not going to get to do the chase scene. I'm not going to get to do the fight scene where he's jumping off of rooftops and beating up 1,000 guys at once. All my movies are character pieces, and in many ways that's cool and better, in my opinion, because now I'm getting to explore aspects of the personality, and I'm getting to do more than the empty popcorn flick, which is what we already are oversaturated with. You know, we get the scene, okay, fine, Batman's going to save Martha, he's going to go murder a whole bunch of guys, but at no point do we have any real moment where we go, okay, now I know why he's going to murder these guys. And that, I'm not going to go into Batman v Superman and how much I hated it, but it was shit. So anyway, I get to instead focus on elements that are never dealt with. I'm doing now a movie called Martha Joker, which is about it's Flashpoint, and it's Martha Wayne's descent into becoming the Joker after the loss of Bruce. And I get to now go into her and Thomas Wayne becoming Batman, and how these two people could not get over the death of their kid, and how they both handle it very differently. And it's going to be messed up. It's going to be dark, and it's going to be, you know, what the Joker movie should have been. I'm going to put that out there. But it'll make sense because it's canon. So, no, I don't get to do a scene where the Joker is going to murder a bunch of people or start a riot and burn down the city, but instead I get to go into a very, very sad, tragic side of this woman that we've never seen before. And we've never seen this Joker before either, other than in small bursts in animated versions.
Also, whenever, you know, traveling is safe again and I can hop cross country over to LA again.
Oh yeah.
Planning on doing a Dula Dent fan film.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah.
Rob, you have anything to add?
I was just going to say, for me, when it comes to, I feel like I'm going to say something here, and I hope it doesn't get taken in the wrong way, but there is a level of expectation with these types of films. So there's a phrase that I've been, you know, I've kind of said to myself, which I think is an important thing to live by, which is, you know, there are so many people that are filmmakers and actors out there. So you either step up or you step aside, you know? And for me, if you're going into a Batman fan film and you don't have a certain set of sequences or set boundaries about, you know, that Batman does, or, you know, Batman mannerisms, then you might as well stop right there and go back to the blueprint and go back to the drawing board, because you need to bring something to the table with that, you know. So I was cautious to, you know, keep to the original intent of the story, which is this is a Gothamite story which happens to have Batman in it. But when he does arrive, you do feel the different change. You do feel the flamboyancy. You do feel the, you know, the Batman we're used to seeing. But then we start questioning it, you know. And again, in every scene that Batman is in well, and I imagine it would be the same with Chris and Shannon, your films, is that whenever your characters, or, you know, a certain character appears, that's when the budget goes up. That's when you can pinpoint a moment when you go, right, that's a $500 or a £500 scene right there. You know, I can do exactly the same with, you know, with Batman here. It's like I can go, right, so about 4 minutes and 30 seconds in, that's when the budget goes up. That's when I know, you know, that's when I've got to use him sparingly. And that's why I say it's, you know, the believability thing is really important. And, you know, there is a level of that expectation there. If you really cared a lot, and this is where I'm saying I'm being careful what I say here, if you really cared that much about the material that you're working with, you would go the extra mile to deliver for the audience, you know, because, you know, even if you are constrained by budgets and everything else, you find a way. That's what filmmaking's all about. It's a challenge. It's a leap of faith. You are literally, you know, diving off a cliff just to try and make the, you know, something. Because at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is be expressive, but also, you know, tell a great story. So, and there is those expectations.
Yeah, I know. Great stories with how we filmed the Typhoid Mary origin fan show. And it goes back to what you were saying, Rob. It's like, you know, whatever, just make it happen. Do it how you can.
You got to tell him how he did it.
Yeah,
so
you got to tell a story now.
No, basically it was like, I was over at Chris's house. We were supposed to film something else, but it fell through like very last minute. And
what were we supposed to do? I can't remember.
I don't remember, honestly. But then I was like, I had been bugging Chris for years to let me play Typhoid Mary and to do a Typhoid Mary film. And he was like, I don't know what I do. And then finally it was like, well, we're here. Like, why don't we just do a Typhoid Mary film? And he was like, okay, well, I actually do have an origin script. And
wait, you're leaving out the best part of all this.
No, I'm getting to it. Yeah,
okay.
we were at his birthday party.
At my house.
All downstairs. And he just turns to me and goes, hey, you want to go film the short? And I was like, what? Where? And he's like, there's, you know, like up in the room with like the green screen.
I had a backdrop set up in my room. So.
And I was like, oh, sure, why not? And we were like, yeah, you two over there, come hold lights.
This was during the party.
At my party, yeah. So we just walked upstairs for about 2.5 hours. Everyone's downstairs just hanging out, talking. I go, I'll be right back, guys. Just do your thing. We're just going to go upstairs and do something real quick. Like, what are you doing? Like, don't worry about it. We go upstairs, and while everyone's hanging out, we shoot Typhoid.
Can I just ask, were there people actually, you know, were people actually pissed when they were like helping out as well? Were they drunk or anything?
Oh, no. It was my wife and one of my friends, and I'm just like, you know, I'm cashing in a chip right now. You're gonna help me,
right? Because I was gonna say, if that had happened at my house, my birthday, like literally, I'd be like, I'm not joking. Like right now, I'd be like, right, so you over there, you go and hold the boom, and you just do something. You know, it would just be a nightmare. And then by the end of take 4 or 3, you'd have someone vomiting on the set. I wouldn't be able to trust anybody or any of my friends for that matter. I mean, I've made films with my very great friends before. You know, they've been extras or they've been, you know, first ACs or something like that. But at a party atmosphere, I mean, my God, that's brave and awesome at the same time.
It came out really well too. You know, I had a black
I'd love to
backdrop
see
and
it.
it was just Shannon acting opposite herself.
Yeah.
Drop it in the chat and I'll watch it. Seriously. I'll watch that.
No, I was very pleased. Very pleased.
Okay.
It was again, all 3 of your stuff was good. And that's hilarious knowing the origins with that. And actually, I think as filmmakers, you would agree, in some sense, it's good to have a low budget at times because the thing is, you look at some of these Hollywood blockbuster movies that just do explosions. Like you see them have like a $2.1 million budget for no reason at all.
Yeah.
And then
I hate expensive fan films. Actually, I've been very outspoken and I've seen a lot of expensive ones and I do not recommend them whatsoever. There have been, if your fan film costs more than $10,000, quit.
It doesn't.
Quit. Because you could just save that money. If you have $10,000 to make a fan film, you have $10,000 to put towards an original feature or a concept piece that you can get funding for. I've seen people do fan films for $40,000, $50,000. Idiots asking for up to $100,000 to do a fan film. I'm like, get out of here. This is pathetic and stupid, okay? You can't sell this. You can't cash in on it. And if you're going to do, we'll give away free Blu-rays if you pay for the shipping, go fuck yourself. You're lying.
I can confirm. I can confirm that it wasn't £10,000 my Batman fan film. So I mean, I hope you can watch it knowing that.
I never let my fan films cost more than $1,000.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
500 to 1,000 is my range, and if I can't get it done for under that, I'm not going to do it. It's not worth it unless someone's going to give me the money to do it, and I'll take that money happily. I'm not going to do it or ask for that. Most of my fan films cost under $500 a piece.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I'll be honest with you, like mine did cost a little bit more, but only because I like to feed my crew. You know, I'd like to feed them good food, and you know, I'm sure you guys do as well, by the way. But you know, a full Indian cuisine, you know, that's what we've served the crew. You know, like good old mama's cooking, you know, and you know, big platter and everything else. Because at the end of the day, when it all comes down to it, that's what you're paying for. You know, that's how much most of the budget comes down to. It's just you're just feeding the crew.
Yeah, our craft services is just Chris's
Little
wife,
Caesars.
Lindsay.
Yeah,
Little Caesars and Lindsay. Like Lindsay's
my wife, and she bakes for everybody.
Oh, amazing!
Hey, that's so good though. So
a damn fine chili.
So talking more, so it's good that we actually have two sides of the coin. So obviously we've talked about ourselves and passion and stuff. How have you been able to, for your crew and actors, how has that been approaching them with the idea, like, other than, like, you know, we've got actors, like you mentioned, Vincent, who did a great job. I loved him in Crime Alley. I loved it so much.
Sorry, who did you love?
I loved Vincent. Vincent was great.
Yeah, thank you.
And Shannon did a great job too. And so, like, actors who are very passionate about it, but you got those people behind the scenes. And how has that been, making sure that not only your actors are happy and like going through, but your crew too, because a happy crew is a happy show.
It's very easy because I don't have a crew, so I only have to appease myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I find that if you don't have a crew, there's less people to deal with, less lagging, and if someone fucks up, it's usually me.
You just have to blame yourself, basically.
Yeah.
Right. Well, for me, as I said before, for me, I make sure that I like to work. So, you know, this is the only fan film I've made so far. You know, would I make another one? Absolutely. I'm definitely open to the idea of doing another one, whether it be a Batman, Superman, Marvel, whatever. Depends on the script, first and foremost. But when it comes to just usual short film, drama, whatever projects, it comes down to networking. You know, I think it doesn't get highlighted enough that networking is such an important thing. You know, doing what we're doing right now, first of all, panel discussions and going to festivals and talking to fellow filmmakers and, you know, fellow creatives is such an important thing, first and foremost. But also, over the years, if you go to film school or if you go to, you know, any sort of, you know, learning environment where you learn more about your craft, you will meet more people there as well. And they will turn out to be, you know, not only people that you work with, but they also happen to be your friends. So for me, with Crime Alley, it was a combination of working with people I'd known for the best part of 10 years of my life, and finally getting to work with them on something that we were all really passionate about, which is Batman and, you know, the world of Batman. And, you know, that for them was a big selling point to them. You know, did some of them want to be paid? Yes, absolutely, because, you know, they've got kids to feed. You know, I understand that. And it's the same with the actors as well. You know, they love the material, but they've also got, you know, they got rent and stuff. So I had to play it very realistically in that regard, you know. So, but as well as, you know, feeding them is an important thing, because, and I don't want to say it this way because it's not in my regards to my film, but 9 times out of 10 when you work on a film, and I think Shannon, you'll probably agree with this as well as an actor, 9 times out of 10 you'll forget what the film was you were working on, but you will definitely remember the food that you ate on that day.
Or the people you talk to and stuff.
Yeah.
I had the best tres leches cake.
Yeah, it's like, I can't remember the story, but that carrot cake was delicious.
I don't remember the project at all, but
Yeah.
I remember that cake.
Yeah, exactly.
And you remember the stories on set too. If there's like
a
memorable day, like, oh, this happened off screen that made me laugh, like you'll remember that.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Like for me, just one story that was very, it's kind of funny, but it's also very sweet because it was a realization for me that I knew this was going to work. But it was when Batman came onto set and he was in full costume and everyone was, you know, like, yes, this is amazing. But one of the crew members brought their daughter onto set and we heard this clapping at one point. We were like, what's this noise? We thought it was someone from next door, like doing something really disturbing. So we didn't think that straight away. But we thought something was going on. But then we turned round and it was the daughter of the camera operator just clapping because she saw Batman right then. And that's when I realized this is going to work. This is going to work. Because if she believes it, hopefully the rest of the audience will. So that was a really wonderful moment for me.
I've definitely had some fanboy moments like that myself where, you know, I see a character come to life or they walk on set and I know who the hell is in the costume, but like when I saw the Keaton Batman standing in front of me, it's pretty badass. Yeah. And I had this other actor, I shit you not, looks like a 55-year-old version of Christopher Reeve. And I literally wrote the movie just so he could do the part. And this guy walked into my house, put on the suit, looks like him verbatim. I shit you not, verbatim. And I'm like, that's fucking Superman standing in my house. And he's 55, a little bit of gray hair going on. And it's what I was going for. And I'm like, damn, this is what, if only this could, you know, be canon.
Hey, and in fandoms, anything can be canon. So,
yes.
And especially with the way some of these universes have gone, where it's like, oh, this is Earth 6028B CD.
Yeah.
So, but awesome. Well, let's we're gonna start to wind it down with questions. So, first question, the most stereotypical answer: what inspired you guys? What inspired you guys to be a filmmaker? And Shannon, like, what inspired you to be an actress? What director or movie that you saw as a kid that made you go, yep, I want to do this. I want to make a fan film, or I want to be in the film industry?
So, yeah, I was always secretly like a genre actor because I was really into nerdy stuff. Like, the film that comes to mind right now, just because I watched it again recently and I really loved it as a kid, was Mask of Zorro.
That was a good one.
Just kind of like that swashbuckling, like charming as hell. Like, I just loved it. I wanted to be in something like that. Another thing that comes to mind is Rocky Horror. Like, you know, the funny thing is like I kind of fell into fan films. Like, I always was a nerd, but I just kind of like whenever
I was your first, right? I got you in your first.
Yeah, you were my because I auditioned one of your original projects.
Yes.
And then you were like, well, come do this fan film. And I was like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden, like your followers started responding really well. And I was like, oh shit. And then you were like, come to Comic-Con. And I was like, wow. It was really awesome. And it's just something that, like, you know, I fell into, and that, like, I really didn't know I would love it so much. You know, because it's like being an actor, you're always kind of expected to want to do really like lofty things, like the next think piece. And like, you know, whenever I tell other actors, like other independent filmmakers, that, you know, I primarily do fan films, they're kind of like, what? Why would you do that? And it's like, well, I mean, fucking Scarlett Johansson does it. Why can't I do it?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's what I'm passionate about. These are the roles that, like, I mesh with the most, and that, you know, my creativity and my talent really shines through, and I just I don't want to stop playing them.
Well, all right, going down.
I'll let you go, Chris.
What about you? What same question goes to you?
What got me into this was probably I remember I had seen, it was 2003, and I was at Dragon Con. That was my first big convention, actually. And I had seen Batman Dead End, the fan film with Batman versus Predator, and the Xenomorph is there, and Joker's in it.
I remember that.
And I saw it, and everyone was going nuts over it. And I'm like, okay, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. $20,000 budget. I don't agree with that, but, you know, really cool. And I said, and I hadn't started making movies yet, but I knew I wanted to. And I go, you know, that's a really good idea, though. He did something that Hollywood never could do. He got Batman versus the Predator in there, and that was a graphic novel. And, you know, if I want to, and it got him attention, I go, if I want to get noticed, I have to do something that can never be done before. So I have to think outside the box. And I thought to myself, what is something Hollywood will never be able to pull off in a million years for whatever the reason? And I said, I'm going to do Freddy versus Michael versus Jason versus Leatherface versus Pinhead. I'm going to put all five of our favorite slashers into one room, knowing full well Hollywood will never have the clarity to A, do that, B, successfully do that, and C, get through all the legality hoopla in order to pull it off. And so I did The Nightmare Ends and Halloween, which is my very first fan film. And, you know, it started the ball rolling, and I realized that's how I want to do this now. I want to be able to do what Hollywood can't, or where they fail, I want to pick up the rope and say, I did it better for nothing.
Nice.
It's funny, when you were describing that, it sounded like an epic fatal four-way match, like you'd see in WWE or something. It was.
Well, the movie, the first one ended with all five of them entering into one room. It was all about. It was a sequel to Freddy vs. Jason. So Freddy's escaping hell. He tries to get Michael Myers, and then it's Freddy versus Michael, beating the shit out of each other for most of the movie. Then Leatherface and Jason and Pinhead show up at the end, and they all close in on Freddy. I did part 2 in 2011, and it's the battle royale you wanted.
Amazing.
That's glorious.
So for me, I can pinpoint one specific moment entirely where it was literally the beginning where I realized, you know, I didn't probably say this as a 5-year-old saying I want to be a film director, but I would want to work in film. And for me, it was when I went to the cinema for the first time, and it was, and I do apologize, I will show my age here. It was when I saw Toy Story.
Good.
And so at the time, my father had just been diagnosed with cancer. And as a kind of midway thing, my mum and my dad took me to the cinema for the first time, and we watched Toy Story. And for 87 minutes, or however long the film is, I was taken away to a different place entirely, where I completely forgot that the person sat next to me, my father, was dying of cancer. And this was day 4 or day 5 of him just being told he's been diagnosed with cancer. So, you know, and I've got this amazing adventure with Woody and Buzz Lightyear, and, you know, this old versus the new. And I didn't think like this, by the way, at the time. I wasn't that intelligent as a child. But, you know, that comes later in life. But, you know, in that moment, I was like, I'm so escaped by this moment. What is, you know, this is amazing. And then sadly, we came out of the cinema and, I'm still talking about the film and I'm still like excited about it. Like I want to go back and watch it again. And then by day 11, my father has died. So I never knew my father and properly. But then at that point, I then discovered graphic novels, comic books, and I discovered the animated TV series and I discovered Batman. So in a way, seeing Bruce Wayne and seeing his story of, having his father, his parents murdered in front of his eyes, but turning grief not into his weakness, but into his strength and actually using it to be better than he should be. I realized, again, and it sounds crazy to say, but as a child, I did think to myself at the time, I'm not going to let this be the thing that defines me. I want to be able to do something that helps people in some way. So in many ways, that pinpointing moment of when I realized that a film can take you away from your own reality, whatever reality it is, entirely, and take you somewhere else entirely, is such a powerful thing. And over the years, you start studying, you start crafting together. I went to university, I went to film school. So I've dedicated my life to film and to learn about what it is that makes it, these films work. And it's about an emotional connection. It's about a truth that we're gaining each time when we watch something. So for me, it doesn't matter whether it's a drama, a thriller, or a fan film. What I want to deliver each time, which inspires me from the very first time that I saw something in the cinema, is a moment or a feeling that I want to take from it. And that is what has inspired me to be the filmmaker that I am today. And I can very proudly say that I work as a filmmaker, Monday to Friday, but I also work it Saturday and Sundays for my own personal stuff as well, and not a lot of people can say that, and it's a tough reality for a lot of people who can't say that, but when you can say that, it's a wonderful feeling. Yep. So, yeah.
That's a really, really good story.
Yeah, way to fucking upstage us, dude.
All right.
It was the alcohol, man. I could bring it. I'm so totally sorry.
Also, by the way, we were all kids whenever Toy Story came out. You're not.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good.
Not that old, dude.
No. I didn't want to throw it out there, but
All right. We're gonna wind this down with final question here, and it's a obvious, fan question here. So for Shane, this would be what you could act on, and for Chris and Rob, this would be what you could direct. If you could touch any property, be it comics, video games, whatever, and you have whatever budget you want or low budgets you want, and you don't have to worry about a company knocking on your door being like, hey, stop it. What is your fan film?
You roll up the list here. I would say I have a feature script for Freddy Krueger, which is a prequel story. It's 125 pages of pure gold, and it's his entire life leading up to, it's from his conception to his death. And we go into everything, and I treat it like you're watching, The Dark Knight. It's very serious, but it hits all of the character beats that you came to know and love about the character, or came to know and despise about the character, and you're watching it, and I make everything make sense, where you're just like, oh my God, I've loved a murderer, a child murderer for the last 30 years. What's wrong with me?
Nice.
And if I could do a comic book one, I would want to do, a trilogy, The Death, Reign, and Return of Superman. One movie where we kill him, one movie where the four Superman appear, and then the third one, he comes back and, returns. But it'd be a trilogy. I'm not going to cram all that into one fucking movie, and I'm going to make sure that all three are shot back to back to back, and I'm not going to release them until they're all done. I don't want to do one movie and it bombs, and then I can't do the final two, and then they fucking reboot it. No, you're going to get all three whether you like them or not.
Nice. I love it.
I mean, y'all already know that I'm all about Typhoid Mary. I would play her in a heartbeat, and I would love to play her in the Deadpool universe. And Deadpool is one of my favorite anti-heroes. So One thing that I don't know, like, I don't know exactly what role I'd want to play in this, but I know I would like to see done if like just, there were no limits. I'd want to see Deadpool kills everyone.
Yeah.
Yes. Because there's a sick part of me that just wants to see everyone die and wants to see Deadpool go through this like existential crisis.
That would be glorious. What about you, Rob?
So this is going to sound like such a cop-out answer. So I'm going to say this one, but I'm also going to give a definite answer to this. Any offer, I would, any character, doesn't matter. I would love to try and challenge it as long as it comes down to the script. So that's point one. Point two, though, if push to shove, I'm astonished even now that we haven't seen a Green Lantern Corps John Stewart film, in my opinion. I think it's about time that we saw...
But you gotta do it like a cop movie.
Yeah, well, I actually would describe it as an intergalactic police force, like mixed with Star Trek type of, adventure. And I would have John David Washington play John Stewart. I think he would be fantastic. I mean,
I want someone more square-jawed. I want someone. No, I'm not. I don't agree with that casting.
Fair enough.
I love him. He's a great actor. But I want somebody who's closer to Phil Lamar's representation with that deep way of talking. Now, he doesn't have to have that deep way of talking, but I need somebody who's like square-jawed. Like if he's the kind of person that if you tap him on the shoulder, he'll just do this.
And
like, oh, sorry.
No,
I don't get that from Washington.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean,
His dad would have been better if it was 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, many moons ago. Maybe there's a multiverse in that. Who knows? Right. But I don't know. I think like when I saw Black Klansman in particular, I just thought, here's a character which could have been played off in such a cliched way, but actually he brings an element of because I've read the book with Ron Stallworth, and actually I do believe that every beat that he hits, there is so much truth to what he brings there, and he's not your typical strong police cop because he's not, and I think that's what you could bring with John Stewart. But I mean I do see the jawline point.
Get Idris Elba. I mean, just give the guy a break. Make him a superhero already.
Well, the thing is, he should have been Bond.
Of course.
He should have been Bond.
It should have been codename Bond. I've been saying this for years. It's a moniker given to people because why on earth would a super secret spy be telling people his given name, his birth name, when he's going all over the world? What's your name? Bond. James, hang on, let me Google that. Oh, you live at Skyfall, huh? I'm gonna blow your house up. The hell is up with that shit? That's his real name,
and they don't even hide the gravestones of his parents as well.
Really? Yeah. No. His real name should be unknown, and we just only know him as Bond. And then when you get a new Bond over, and you can even say every other Bond: Connery, Brosnan, Daltrey, fucking Roger Moore, Lazenby, all canon because they all bore the name of Bond.
Yeah.
Wasted opportunity.
But they're not going to do that, sadly.
No, they're not going to do that. Stupid.
And that's why
they don't listen to their fans. That's the thing.
And that's why I have a script, a fan film script.
And that's why you guys are here, because you're like, screw it, we'll do it right.
Yeah.
I'll do it myself.
Somebody call Idris Elba.
I got a script for you. But all right, I think that's a good kind of point for today's panel discussion. I want to thank you all three for being here and having great conversation, great talking points. It was great talking to you guys, and I appreciate you guys submitting your films and to Something Wicked Film Festival. I enjoyed all three. They were great. I seriously appreciate you guys doing that and hope that you guys continue to enjoy. Hope you guys get to watch each other's films and to watch other films that were submitted. And I, again, appreciate you guys for taking your time to come talk in this panel discussion. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Cheers. Thank you.
You guys
Thank you.
you guys enjoy the rest of the weekend and have a great day.
Bye.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm off to bed.
Bye. Yes.